Morning, folks. Today's soap I'm going to be using is from Chiseled Face. It's the natural unscented version of their soap, and that's what it looks like there on the inside. Very bright white. It's fairly firm in there, but it's not triple milled soap or anything like that. You scrape it out with a spoon or whatever you plan on using, put it in a bowl and whip it up. Makes a pretty nice lather. Set that off over here out of the way. Got it whipped up with a this brush I've had for a moment. It is a vintage brush. Let's make sure I got the all of it wiped off here. This is a black diamond boar knot brush. It's got print on the other side also. This is a very tall loft. Makes a great painting brush. This is a really nice brush. Whips up pretty easy. Got it here in a wooden bowl from the Distinctive Goat, and I'll show you the back side of it here if you can see that. This is walnut. The other one I've got is walnut and cherry, but it's got concentric rings in there, little grooves to help hold the soap in there and maybe even help whip up the lather, but it whips up pretty nice with this knot. It was really easy. This brush is quite impressive, at least to me it is. I'm going to be topping the shave off today with Uncle John's Prohibition. Pretty nice aftershave. Very unique scent to me, at least per my nose. Did a hot towel to the face, and I used a Proraso Preshave this morning. And I got the usual suspects over here in that I've got Crown King Alum Block complete with rubber band, and also still using the Humphreys Witch Hazel that's citrus scented. Shaver of the day. This is a very unique shaver. This is what it looks like. It's I can't remember exactly what the three. I know that this one here is alum. What it's made out of is aluminum. Base plate is plastic, but if I remember right, the cap is made out of a different material, and I don't remember what it is. This particular one I have right here is got a comb on one side and safety bar on the other. And yes, it does have. I'll take it apart at the end of the shave. It does have two DE blades. The one that's on the very bottom is the whole DE blade, and up top you snap the DE blade in half and use each half at the top. And it is very lightweight, but I should, how can you say, advise that the shave feel will be different than what you're accustomed to. Might be considered a little on the aggressive side. Very efficient shaver. Matter of fact, it's very well possible that if you do your what would be a typical with the grain pass, and then the second one, if you use as a pickup pass, and your shave could be done. It is very efficient. It takes down the whiskers pretty darn quick. You have to keep in mind, of course, it's got two DE blades in there, so it might be considered something similar to a cartridge without having the cartridge. And the blades of choice today are Persona. All right, go ahead and get started here. And as it goes for one side being more aggressive than the other with the open comb and safety bar, I really don't notice it. If there's anything that I've noticed that's very unique about how this is designed, is that if you notice that the plastic part of the base plate comes up, it meets higher up on the cap. On the open comb side, it meets it at a lower level. Doesn't have any effect on the shave. It just, a design difference that I saw and thought that was kind of unique, interesting. This is a very unique shaver. I forgot to grab the little cube that the travel version comes in. The handle comes in two pieces and fits in a very small cube. Well, you can kind of figure it's about this big. It's just big enough to house all this, and then the two pieces for the handle. It is very tiny, very easy to use if you're using it for going on a trip. And that particular version has safety bars on both sides, instead of open comb on one and a safety bar on the other. I'll have a link down below to Joe's video where he shows, he demonstrates how to put the blades in and whatnot. Which, for me, I kind of struggled. I think I made, when I first got this a while back, I think it made it more difficult than what it actually is. And because this go around, I had them put in there real quick, easy peasy. I just think last time I was trying to make it more difficult than what it was. And I should mention that the Persona blade that I snapped in half. In other words, it's not a pre-cut one. So a pre-cut one in the top might work a little bit easier for some people when you first start out. For me, first time I was pretty frustrated with it, trying to figure out how to get them to lay in there right. And like I said, I think I was just making it more difficult than I had to. The only thing that I did that would be probably off-putting to some folks, besides loading that second blade, is make sure that I got it lined up with the back of my fingernail before I snugged it up, which is one thing you want to keep in mind. That's a plastic base plate, so it would not be advised to use any He-Man strength. Tighten it up. It just needs to be snug. That base plate is plastic, and it's not going to take a whole lot to have that plastic start to bow in the middle or snap, depending on how tight you're trying to get it. It just needs to be snug. And it stays put. It doesn't loosen up during the shave. Like I said, this brush is a nice painter. It really is. And my lather is somewhat on the wet side. It's not drippy, but it's pretty wet. Like I said, there is really not a whole lot in the way of whiskers. This would be the, how you can say, the touch-up pass. The second pass is touching up, picking up what was left over. That's that area that I usually, it takes a little bit of effort to catch all that right through there. But that's, in other words, I could stop at the end of this pass. It is very efficient. Should be with 2 DE blades, right? As it goes for price, the store that I usually go to, by the way of eBay, I think it's like $12, $13, something like that. It's not real expensive, and I think when I got it, it was a bit cheaper, which was probably about a year ago, maybe a little longer. I'll have a link down below to Mark's video. He's got a video with the shaver, but this is a very efficient shaver. I mean, there's just, like I say, if I used the second pass as a pickup pass, I don't hardly have anything left to be picking up. As it goes for how does, I should mention too, this brush is still shedding just a bit. The blades of choice, since this is a bit of aggressive one, you might, if you are aware of a blade that works for you that is more on the mild side, that might be a better choice to start out with until you figure out what blade works best for you. And they do sell some Voscods, if that helps any. I'm kind of thinking that might be the blade to work with. It's been a while since I've used this shaver. I don't remember what all blades I used with it the first go around. If you were in a rush to get to work and you had one of these shavers, this one would here be recommended, because one pass, like I say, you take off an awful lot of whiskers That beard reduction is pretty good with this shaver on the first pass. My face is going to be very smooth. It really is. It's going to make Monday's shave pretty easy. Because there won't be a whole lot to be taken off either. I really enjoy this shaver now that I've figured out how to put the blades in without it. Well, how can you say frustrating me, irritating me? A lot of fidgeting and carrying on the first go around. I was having a hard time wrapping my mind around it. And then later on I came back to revisit it to see, if I could figure out how to put those blades in. No problem at all. I just make it harder than what it actually really was. Definitely an inexpensive shaver. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this does come by the way of Russia. The shaver does. I like it. It's such a unique shaver and so efficient. I like to use it from time to time. I think I'm going to be using it a little bit more often. Good for a Monday shaver. In other words, you're just not quite ready to go to work, get around, and whatnot. Want to maybe a shorter shave, give yourself a moment to wake up. This shaver here just might be the one. Because that first pass, like I say, there's not much left. Very impressive on the efficiency, I guess you might say. But that blade feel, some might consider it aggressive, so that'll be something you'll need to experiment with. And you might decide to swap out the name brands. In other words, the bottom plate may be one name brand, and then the top plate that you snap in half might be something totally different. See how that works for you. Might make a world of difference if you're trying to use a feather blade. I really don't pick up the citrus from the witch hazel. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Today I'm not picking it up at all. That's kind of my nose here late. Uncle John's. I have a link down below to Uncle John's Prohibition. This is one of my favorite scents from him, besides lime. Lime is a favorite scent, period. It's kind of hard to mess up a lime. But I do, I got his lime aftershave also. Matter of fact, it was the first aftershave we got from him. It took a moment, but this is wife approved also. It's good for a Sunday scent. It's smooth. Smooth like a drink, huh? Yep. I hope everybody's doing well. And stay safe out there. I know everybody's starting to, I guess you might say, move forward to getting everything normal out in the world, but it's still out there. That virus is still very much alive. So, stay safe, stay healthy, and smooth shaves to you.